I'm not saying that this is a good fact or a bad fact. I just think that the current reality is that the foundations that you happen to have represented up here, which is not all the foundations in the universe, but the ones that you have up here that fund journalism, are part of the establishment, which is not to say, therefore, we do not do anything else and we would never open our minds to something that isn't. But it's a steep hill to climb. And I don't really have a great answer for you, but I think that I just want to acknowledge that that's really what I think you're asking.
It's hard to get in touch with funders and identify them and try to and ask them, these questions. How do you get started? How do we get funding? And so my question was, how do we get your attention? Independent journalists and publishers, people who serve these growing audiences that have been ignored, communities that have been ignored for a long time, but we're serving this really important function, need greater access to funding. And so oftentimes we're small, we're 1 or 2 person shops, and we don't even know how to get started. We don't know how to apply for a grant. We don't know what grant cycles are. We don't know when they are. And so we need probably more help than some of these larger organizations that have people dedicated to grant writing.
What I was trying to say is that maybe this is the awkward situation, but the funders that were on this panel and the funders who tend to fund journalism, for the most part, are very large, institutional, nationally focused, globally focused foundations that don't have a lot of the Tracys in their portfolios, that don't tend to do grants that are for smaller ventures that may be locally based or serve a valuable but small community. And so I didn't have a great answer to Tracy's questions, but one of the points that I really think is important for funders, such as the ones on this panel, to at least acknowledge is that we are working at a level of a very establishment level where we are very large institutions that are established, and most of who we fund and even end up on our radar are large established institutions, in part because, as Tracy was saying, they have entire development departments whose, Tracy is working to put out her digital product every day. That's a job in and of itself. In a much bigger place, Tracy would have a person whose only job was to get in touch with me.